Right. Hey, everyone, I'm Klloo. So, we've gotten some more high seas leaks. Now, of course, take everything with a grain of salt. These were released as part of the packages for the world premiere Taipei, so they definitely seem a lot more credible, but since viewing, they have been taken down, unfortunately, which makes sense because LSS themselves are going to make an announcement towards the high seas products on March 21st. So, yeah, I do think this was a little bit preemptive. Similar to the Hunted, we got the same sort of leaks for the world premiere for the Hunted. You could view the packages, and the packages, of course, had promos. So, yeah, I do think these are it, which is definitely exciting because starting off, we have, of course, the heroes. We have Puffin Hightail as our pirate mechanologist, Marilyn Treasure Hunter as our pirate ranger, and then Gravy Bones as our pirate necromancer. So, the takeaways obviously being pirate is our talent, which is fine. 3 pirates are better than 1. And then, of course, the new class of necromancer. Now, they all sport this interesting new symbol. So I gotta say, big thanks to the people at Battle Station, right, which is now the somewhat local LGS that I go to. So me, being me, I viewed this symbol and just straight away thought, oh, it's a wave. It's a weird black and white wave. But yeah, I can see it not being that, definitely. So the idea floated is that this is basically the new shorthand symbol for once per turn, which definitely makes sense once we start diving into their actual abilities. So, I kick it off with Gravy Bones Shipwrecked Looter as our Pirate Necromancer. So, we have instant and then the new symbol, right? So, again, either just tapping, so once per turn instant, or potentially maybe something to do with Watery Grave, because Watery Grave itself is a little bit interesting. And then we have Destroy a gold you control, draw a card, then discard a card, with the static ability for Gravy Bones being, if a blue card has been put into your graveyard this turn, you may play cards with Watery Grave from your graveyard. Worth noting there, Watery Grave is not emboldened, nor is it capitalized, right? So emboldened, usually relating to a keyword, or capitalized when it is, for instance, chi, right, which was a resource. Now, this is akin to, say, token or action, right? So, which could mean that Watery Grave is, interestingly, an actual new typing, right? So, yeah, that's definitely a curiosity, right? But the ability. So, again, this is most likely the set that has caused cash-in to be banned, with the understanding, at least on my behalf, that the whole idea would be you can get to 2 gold relatively easy to make cash in a +1. So if we're getting to 2 gold relatively easy, being able to spam these abilities on any of the heroes definitely seems a little bit excessive, which then lends itself to the symbol being a tap mechanic, if you will, right? So yeah, being able to destroy a card, to draw a card, then discard a card, which then could also lead to triggering Gravy Bones' other ability, would definitely be disgusting if you could do it multiple times, right? If the only cap there was the amount of gold, right? So yeah, definitely going to be interesting. The caveat, right, between the second ability is on your opponent's turn. If you're blocking, your opponent closes the chain, you could play instants, for instance, and say your instants are what actually summons you your allies, then that's pretty devastating to have them ready in the graveyard and you just block out with a blue, right? Or if your opponent causes you to discard, say, Guardian, you could also trigger the ability. Now, nicely, coming off the back of the Hunter, this obviously doesn't really interfere with Assassin, who are milling your cards to the banish zone. So yeah, I do like that play, and I do like the fact that they haven't just dived back into the banish zone, say with like Shadow, and they have made Necromancer and its graveyard play a little bit different. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what other cards we get for Gravy Bones. So then next we have Marilyn Treasure Hunter. Action, again, our magical symbol. Destroy a gold you control and create a gold fin harpoon. I'm going to say in your hand, it is, of course, cut off. It could be Arsenal, but I think hand makes a little bit more sense, right, in terms of creating an arrow. If you could load it up straight away, that means your ability is basically shooting an arrow, right? If it has some cost, you know, there's easy ways to sort of get around it. So I think into your hand, because then it also fuels Trench, right? If it's ephemeral, it gets destroyed, so it doesn't really matter, you're still gaining the resource, right? So I do think to the hand it makes the most sense. This ability does have Go Again, it is an action, and then the static ability, whenever you draw a card during your action phase, you may put an arrow from your hand face up into your arsenal. So similar to Ripside, but I think a little bit better, again, relying on how easy gold is to generate. So the idea there is, in comparison to Riptide, you're not only getting an extra card in your hand to choose from, but you're floating resources while not really costing an extra card command. So for instance, as Riptide, if you're playing anything that isn't a 0 cost, you're playing a card, floating resources, and then arsenaling a card, meaning that, potentially you're taking a 4-card hand to 2 cards, limiting your options. So yeah, the flexibility of Marilyn definitely seems really nice. We don't know what a Goldfin Harpoon is just yet, but as a generatable arrow, I'm all for it, again, because it should help open up deck construction a little bit more, right? If it's really accessible, you just go for golden traps and then use this as your arrow that you're buffing. So yeah, I'm very interested to see where they take our Goldfin Harpoons. Then, lastly, we have Puffin Hightail as our pirate mechanologist. So action, again, our strange new symbol. Destroy a gold you control and create a golden cog token. With her static ability, the second time you crank each turn, draw a card. I have a feeling she's going to love Max's new wrench, right? But the curiosity here is, again, the golden cog token. We don't know what it is, but I'm gonna assume that golden cog definitely has crank, because unlike Marilyn, this action does not have go again, so it would make plenty of sense if it's destroy gold, create a golden cog token, and be able to crank it straight away. And then the second time you crank, you get to draw a card. So yeah, it's really squeezing the use out of gold without having to pay for gold. In fact, all their abilities are pretty much squeezing out the use of gold without having to pay the resources for gold. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see that dynamic of whether you want to get to 3 gold for your +1, especially as Gravy Bones, who seems to want to favor more blue cards, right? Or you want to use their ability. But golden cogs, what else could it do? My mind sort of goes to hyperdrivers, right? Instead of boosting, cranking. But so my mentality, gold handles draw, so golden cog has to be sort of an inverse to that, right? So if you crank, gain a resource rather than pay and draw a card, kind of makes a little sense. But we'll have to wait and see what golden cogs do exactly. Now, on to some other revealed cards. We have a trifecta of Necro cards. Unfortunately, no allies just yet, but some ally interaction. So we have Hoist Them Up, which is when this defends, you may something an ally, which again gives credence to that being the tap ability, right? So you tap an ally, you can't actually attack with the ally this turn, and if you do, this gets +1 block. Although in saying that and reading this card, right, there's too little downside to obviously tapping your ally on your opponent's turn unless it doesn't, untap. So yeah, definitely need some clarification on the symbol, but a nice red 4 block that can be a 5 block at the cost of your ally in some way is definitely going to be interesting. So just a nice, simple mechanic, right? Just stock value card for Necro. And of course, the tap symbol here, having to target an ally is definitely worth noting. After that, we have Paddle Faster as our Pirate Necromancer action attack. When this attacks, you may something an ally you control. If you do, this gets go again. So with that ability in mind, the stat line, I'm going to assume it's a red 0 cost, but of course we can't see the cost. And we know it's a 4 power, X block, probably a 3. Again, these just seem like nice stock standard valued cards. So a 4 with possible go again at the cost of your ally. Again, standard value, right? Seems good. Then board the ship as another Pirate Necromancer action attack. When this attacks, you may something an ally you control. If you do, this gets overpower. So cost 2, 6, 2 for 6. Again, we're at that average level of power, and then do something to your ally to give it overpower definitely makes it a little bit nicer. So yeah, again, just some nice looking cards for our Necromancer. These are definitely going to look interesting in foil because they should have that nice green flare to them. But next up, we have something a little bit more interesting. This definitely takes my fancy. We have the return of macros. So Treasure Island is a high seas macro landmark featured in a gold pack. So I'm going to assume that gold packs are back and we're going to be able to find them hopefully in the booster box, although I'd be much more excited if they're buy a pack, right, promos, something like that. And obviously if they have a lot more variety to them than just, 2. Yeah, surprise. Enigma New Moon, Rainbow Foil, fell under $10. So, our High Seas macro. The first time a hero is attacked each turn, put a gold counter on this, and then whenever you or an ally you control deals damage to another hero, you may remove that many counters from this. Then create gold tokens equal to the number of counters removed this way. That could be devastating because, unlike the macro from Rosetta, it seems like this is staying on board. So setting this up or just having landmarks in general, I'm all for, right? Bring back the landmarks. What better than a pirate set where we're traveling from island to island? But yeah, this is This is seemingly really strong. The first time a hero is attacked each turn, put a gold counter on this, right? So you get it on your swing, you get it on your opponent's swing, right? And then whenever you're an ally you control deals damage to another hero, the fact that you may remove that many gold counters from this to create gold tokens equal to the number is definitely interesting. Granted, again, given the wording, exact gold counters to the exact damage dealt, which definitely is the balancing act for it, but nonetheless, Treasure Island seems definitely nice, and the heroes that are going to really love a stockpile of gold. Now, of course, I've done my best to fabricate the words we can't see, so, right, my understanding of the card could be completely off, which brings us to the last three, which are by far the hardest to read, because these were nice and shrunk because of the glorious playmat, Treasure Island playmat behind it, right? So, yeah. Big Game Trophy Shot is our first Pirate Ranger action. Your next arrow attack this turn gets +4 power. If a Goldfin Harpoon is the arrow it gets when this hits a hero, create a gold token. So, I'm going to settle on Goldfin Harpoon being a 1 or a 0, right, and really requiring buffs. But still, +4 on hit, create a gold token. That's a nice generatable arrow through effect. And then it has the extra caveat of draw a card and discard a card. So if Watery Grave is open to everyone and not a necromancer thing, that's going to be curious. But it is a yellow. I can't make out the cost, unfortunately. I feel like it's going to be a 1 or a 0, right? And I can't make out the block. Oh, so yeah. Also, has go again. That's how we know it is an action, not an instant card. So again, the fact that this draws and discards means you do get the reload effect of Marilyn, and then a +4 buff on a yellow, mind you. So I would settle on this being a 1-cost card because of the +4. After that, we have our Golden Skywarden. Pirate Mechanologist action attack, right? Galvanize. Galvanize is back, which makes sense because of the golden cogs. So we get some semblance of the interaction with golden cogs. When this defends, you may destroy an item you control, which, again, doesn't have to be a mechanologist item, so gold does count as well, interestingly, if you need the extra block in a pinch. If you do, this gets +1 block, and then if a golden cog is destroyed this way, create a golden token, and then something, right? I can't quite make it out. The word that I can see seems like it's precision, but then that doesn't make sense on a blocking card. So yeah, that's a curiosity. Unless there's some caveat to you may destroy an item when this attacks, although again the wording that I can make out does not stipulate that whatsoever. It is a yellow, we can't make out the cost, but it is a 7 power attack, and we can't make out the block. And given the other galvanized cards, I would assume, though, that it is going to be a 2 block that goes to a 3 if you meet the requirement. Although, again, getting some extra effect by destroying a golden cog will definitely be interesting. Lastly, we have Chart the High Seas, which I cannot make out the majority of this card, unfortunately, but it still has some interesting words nonetheless. So, top line, look at the top 2 cards, I'm going to assume, of your deck, and then something is a blue card, put the card into your graveyard, which again makes sense with our Gravy Bones ability of wanting to put blues into your graveyard, and then a second clause of create a gold token for each blue card put into your graveyard this way. So the fact that you get a gold token, you get to activate Gravy Bones ability, it seems really nice. It's a blue, we can't make out the cost or the block, but I'm going to assume it is an action because again, it has go again, similar to our big game trophy shot. So yeah, either way, it seems simple. It seems very usable for what we know with Gravy Bones currently. It fuels his ability, it's creating gold. Yeah, again, done my best to attempt to fill in the blanks, and we do also have a new stylization of gold cold foil. I'm not big on the treasure chest. To me, personally, both the heavy hitters and this has been a miss, right? I'll stick with my Dynasty one, but, you know, it's also extended. Maybe I do like it. Anyway, there we go. That's everything that has been revealed so far for the High Seas. Hope you enjoy. Let me know your thoughts and what I've gone wrong, because, again, multiple minds definitely do a better job than one. Hope you enjoyed.